winners. We all are winners. The fact that we're alive today means that we are supposed to go out there and win. So do your best and leave the rest to God. But I'm here with Bright and AJ. Good morning, guys.
Good morning. Yeah, good morning.
You feel like winners this morning?
Oh, yes.
I am a winner. I mean, we woke up this morning, so that's a good thing.
It is.
I hear there's a selection team up there. I hear Peter is the chair of that.
It would be good to have Peter. I would be scared if Judas was sitting on that panel.
Oh, okay. So once your name pops up in the morning and you can talk and breathe, you're a winner.
I don't mind if Judas is on the chair. I mean, you can bribe your way through it.
Oh, okay.
But it means then you have the trait of being corrupt.
It doesn't matter.
Oh, no, but...
It matters.
Is it
so
not...
when the special prosecutor is ready for you, I'll let him come and investigate you.
It's not a matter of the end justifying the means. So it's not... If you're paying to have a life...
I mean, pay our Christian values. If you bribe Judas to get there, would you even get there?
Okay, then
for you know, you end
bribe.
up in hell.
I see.
Transportation. You are facilitating.
I'm helping a brother.
Interesting.
You thought you are coming to heaven. You only open the gate and you realize there's fire.
It's a lot.
Anyway.
It's really a lot of issues there. I mean, yesterday I've been watching TV all night about what's happening in US and UK, and I'm wondering if our government here, what is happening to Theresa May and her Brexit team, if it happens here, there will be trouble.
Oh,
I mean, if you have two top guys of your government resigning in just a day, it promises certainly not a good day. But I'm sure this morning we'll see what happens. Good morning, Ghana. Good morning, the rest of the world. We're back on your screens again, and it's a Tuesday, and so we're building up to a midweek. The package looks quite exciting on my table, particularly when you have the general walking into your studio. Now, generals in the army are very strong guys.
They are.
You know, I mean, if I tell you this guy is a general, you know how strong he or she is. And so, if a general is walking through the studio this morning, certainly it's probably.
Right, you are older, so you can have, you know, the
hindsight at 63, I have a lot of
I'm wondering why they added the other name to general.
Okay, so the mosquito. Is that what you're talking about?
But say it out loud. I mean, it's the name. Everyone knows. It's his nickname, I should say.
He's a general and yet tiny, like a mosquito, but very, very strong.
Very. As for that, I won't deny it. It's just an interesting combination of names, general, and then you
huge
mosquito.
And then
it's small. And so it's interesting.
This morning,
we'll be getting all that tidbit from him when he joins us in studio today.
We have him in our studio. General Asiedu Nketia, the NDC's big man, will be with us. We'll talk a lot about what's happening to the NDC and then their reactions on the NPP's conference right here. So don't just get away, be part of the conversation this morning.
And of course, we've heard from Johnny as well. He's saying thank you to everyone who was there. And they are also enjoying the lifelong journey, as Bright has chosen to name it. So we are happy for Johnny and his wife, Regina.
Sometimes it's quite interesting. Okay, you get all the invites for the traditional marriage, the wedding receptions, the dinners and the rest. But some other invites don't come. It's quite worrying.
Outdoor?
Oh, yes, outdoor you get the invite, but some other invites.
Like funeral?
No, yes, you get the invite for funeral.
So which other one?
No, some other invites do not come. I mean, have you ever seen an invite for divorce?
Oh, you want to celebrate their failure?
Exactly, that's what I want to find out. So you want me to, I mean, supposing a couple were divorcing, they'll say, Bright, we're inviting you to the divorce. Is it because you were there at the marriage? You expect that when
not every divorce is a bad thing.
Very well.
Not every divorce is a bad thing. You can celebrate your divorce. Imagine if you go into a marriage and you're abused by your husband. If you're getting divorced, you call your friends, no,
so as you're celebrating, who and who are going to be there? That's my problem. The husband and the wife?
No,
and why
not came for the wedding on your side?
And why not an invite to the consummation of the marriage? Why not?
It's between two people. They went into the union together, not with you.
Yes,
but you were only there to witness. No, so you can come and stand. You want to come and stand there and witness?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean,
God is there. He's all in all. He'll tell you what happened there. But AJ, you've got all the news for us this morning.
Yes, the news will be coming up shortly, right after this. Now, the Asante-Hene Otumfuo Osei II has successfully gone through the biometric registration of the Ghana card at the Menchia Palace in Kumasi. He asked the National Identification Authority and other interest groups to ensure all eligible Ghanaians benefit from the registration process. Here's a report by Benjamin Adu.
The Ghana card registration process at the Menchia Palace involved some paramount chiefs in the Ashanti Kingdom. The Asante-Hene Otumfuo Osei II received his card Monday when officials of the National Identification Authority processed his registration. The implementation of the National Identification System is among government's key processes to formalize the Ghanaian economy. The Asante-Hene encouraged Ghanaians to take active part in the process to register for the card. He also urged all stakeholders, especially the NIA and the minority in Parliament, to deliberate dispassionately on concerns to ensure all eligible Ghanaians benefit from the process.
The
NIA has rumored of omitting some people from their process, but with their presence here, they made things clearer. The NIA must intensify its education on requirements for registration.
Chief Executive Officer of the NIA, Professor Kenatefa, said the authority is working to ensure all eligible applicants are registered. He said the exercise has been successful in the areas covered.
The National Identification Authority was in Kumasi last week to register the National House of Chiefs. Took advantage of our presence in Ashanti region to also register judges in Ashanti region, members of the Ghana Bar Association Ashanti region branch.
Now, still in the Ashanti region, government is expected to construct 4 new interchanges in Kumasi to help ease the growing traffic congestion in the metropolis. President Akufo-Addo is expected in the Ashanti regional capital on July 16 to launch the Kumasi Road facelift project.
Road networks in the Ashanti region are in deplorable conditions. Residents have complained of neglect as traffic congestion affects socio-economic activities in areas such as Atonso, Tafo and Swami. Government is said to have awarded some roads on contract, while others are at various stages of procurement. Addressing the first meeting of the Ashanti Regional Coordinating Council, Regional Minister Simon Osei-Mensah said in addition to the rehabilitation of roads, Kumasi will benefit from 4 additional interchanges at Angloga Junction, Airport, Santasi and Swami roundabouts. President Akufo-Addo will next week launch the Kumasi Road facelift project to help reduce traffic congestion.
Roads in the region is in a very deplorable state. It is about the worst in the country. However, the government is making strenuous efforts to improve upon the total road network in the region. I wish at this point to give you my assurances that by a year from this time, there will be significant improvement in the road network within the region.
On environmental health in the region, the minister noted the collection rate of solid waste in the region has fallen by 30%. He therefore entreated local assemblies to practice door-to-door refuse collection and also institute measures to mitigate indiscriminate disposal of waste and also enforce their bylaws on sanitation.
We shall use all legal means to ensure that her removal is permanent and cast in stone. These were the words of the 16 remaining Electoral Commission officials whose petition led to the sacking of the Commission's chairperson, Charlotte Osei.
There are many contracts which she awarded without recourse to process of law, and we are willing to cooperate with the Office of the Special Prosecutor to investigate each and every contract to bring her to book in instances where she is found culpable. 11. Ladies and gentlemen, we at the Electoral Commission would like to say that we have seen the removal of office of Ms. Charlotte Osei. We like her removal and it makes us happy. We are sure these words are very familiar to her and fellow Ghanaians. In line with this, we wish to state that We shall use all legal means available to us to ensure that her removal is permanent and cast in stone. We believe it should serve as a source of inspiration to many others to advance the cause of our nation by bringing public office holders to book when they act against the laws of our land. No one is above the law, and Ms. Charlotte Osei is no exception. We also would like to thank our legal team, Mr. Kwame Boateng, Mr. Maxwell Opoku-Agyeman, Mr. Eric Otredakon, Mr. Julius Opoku-Agyeman, Mr. Raphael Kweku Owusu-Agyeman for their dedication to our cause.
Now, the Industrial and Commercial Workers Union has backed calls for the Finance Minister to reintroduce the property taxes in the upcoming mid-year budget review. General Secretary of ICU, Solomon Kote, is confident this will assist government raise enough revenue to pursue its flagship programs.
The General Secretary agreed that government revenue has been affected due to the cutting of taxes and some reliefs. Solomon Kote recalled the free SHS policy, which has consumed over 500 million cedis of government allocations. Due to that, the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, few months ago emphasized on reintroducing property taxes in the next mid-year review. Ahead of that, the ICU has backed the Finance Minister on the property tax but called for steps on how to implement it.
That law had been there for a long time, and strangely, it is the AMA or the Metropolitan Assemblies that have been managing it. And it is also skewed to some section of the society. Some sections of our societies are just not paying it. So spreading that tax net will also not be bad and will also rake in some revenue for government. Of course, every government needs revenue to be able to work. So those who are not paying at all. But if they come and want to review the rates that are currently being paid by the same few people that are in the tax bracket, that will not be, just in the eyes of the law. And then we believe that this government will do the right thing by getting to those. It includes even parcels of land that has been acquired are also supposed to be taxed. So we believe that area should be able to give government a lot of revenue.
Meanwhile, the IC is concerned with the depreciation of the cedi against major trading currencies. Though the union acknowledged that government has maintained macroeconomic stability, it implored swift measures to deal with the depreciation.
On paper, the current government is calling itself that they've put the inflation under check and control. They managed to bring base rates, all macroeconomic indicators. They are trumping and saying that they've gotten them in alignment. But nevertheless, those on the ground, okay, and all of us who are within the economy, we could see that they've lost control on the fuel issue, and we are actually not feeling the kind of change that government is trying to bring to us.
The association again said it is awaiting on government to indicate in the mid-year budget other sources of funding for projects.
Let's do some security stories. Now, the Kwesi Police Command, with the assistance of community watchdogs, has rounded up 5 alleged notorious thieves who have been terrorizing residents of Kwesi and its environs in the Efia Kwesi municipality of the Western region. 3 of the alleged thieves have been on the wanted list of the command for the past 2 years.
The alleged thieves are Kojo Bar, 21, Frederick Garte, 23, Joseph Aka, 24, Simon Adu alias Tiger, 26, and Kwabena Anoche, 28. Items stolen included television sets, mobile phones, cameras, welding machines, and a cash amount of 375 cedis. Briefing the media, the Kwesi District Police Commander, Superintendent Peter Adu, narrated the thieves went to houses of the victims to steal when they had left for work. He said upon a crime scene investigation, it was realized the thieves used pliers, carjacks, pinch bar and other sharp instruments to carry out the operations in broad daylight. In another case, the victim, a photographer, was attacked and robbed on his way from a function. Superintendent Adu said 3 of the alleged thieves, Joseph Aka, Frederick Garte, and Kwabena Anoche, have been on their wanted list for the past 2 years.
Every day they report a case of stealing, but you have been also doing our best to make sure that you get them arrested. So there was another side that we did, and with the assistance of the neighborhood watch and then information from the inhabitants, we were able to arrest the guys that you see here. They are notorious criminals there. They are harassing Anaji, especially Anaji and Kwesimi team and its environs.
He pleaded with community leaders under his district to assist the police to form community watchdogs to help in combating crime. At the time of filing this report, the 5 were being processed for court.
Prices of key commodities have increased in local markets. Now, Isoko, an information and communication service provider for agricultural markets in Africa, explains that prices are expected to remain high for the next month.
Market price data and analysis for the month of June indicated a rise in commodity market prices. Key commodities have continued to make gains. The highest gain of 14% was made by yam, Puna, rising to 692 Ghana cedis. Maize experienced an increase of 7.26% to close the month at 166 Ghana cedis per bag. Local rice also made a gain of 4.38% to close at 347 Ghana cedis, with cowpea gaining 3.63% to close at 379 Ghana cedis. Groundnut, millet, wheat and imported rice all saw an increase in price. Tomato, however, experienced a significant reduction of 28%. The general trend of price increases for most commodities is expected to continue in August. Traders say the trend has been higher than anticipated for this year.
Both the old and the new yam are expensive.
Last month, one alone can 5. And this month, 7 cedis. 1 tuber of new yam, how much is it?
It's 15 cedis. This year is different.
This year has been different. Prices have gone too high.
Content manager at Isoko explains that the price increase is a seasonal occurrence. He assures Ghanaians of a reduction in prices in the market in August during the harvest season.
Around this period, you see almost all the cereals moving up. This is because the stock that we had in the previous season are virtually used up, and so demand and supply comes in, and then prices usually moves up around this period.
The Commodity Price Index tracks the prices of key agricultural commodities across the country.
Now, the Majority Chief Whip and member of the Parliamentary Finance Committee, Matthew Nyindam, says he's confident the government's economic management team will find ways in resolving the decline in the value of the Ghana cedi. The minority has attributed the depreciation of the cedi to poor management of the economy by the Akufo-Addo administration.
On Wednesday, July 4, the Deputy Minority Leader, James Aveji, predicted a further decline in the value of the Ghana cedi following its recent free fall against the dollar. James Aveji noted that the value of Ghana's currency may fall to 5 cedis 20 pesos to the dollar by December this year. He attributed his prediction to what he calls the poor management of the economy by the Akufo-Addo administration. But Majority Chief Whip and member of the Finance Committee, Matthew Nyindam, said the NPP administration must be credited for ensuring the stability of the cedi until recently.
We are not too happy about what is going on, because when your cedi is wobbling in the international market, everything of yours is not good enough. Okay, and we should also credit the government that previous government, that is the NDC government, suffered a lot. But when we came in for almost 1.5 years, we've been able to stabilize the economy. But that is not to say that what is currently happening, we should attribute it to the NDC. No, I am not doing that. We have to compare better things, not things that are negative. So, like I said, the economic management team, led by Omia, like you said, he's locked the cedi, and the key is given to IGP. Is it that the key is stolen? I think it's a legitimate question you have asked, and he wouldn't sleep. The finance minister will not sleep until we find solutions to some of these things.
The Bank of Ghana believes the changes in the exchange rate are temporary. Hence, the cedi would soon see some stability.
The Christian Health Association of Ghana is calling for concerted efforts to revamp the National Health Insurance Scheme at its 51st annual conference in the Bono-Haffrey region. Leaders urged government to urgently pay all arrears to ensure provision of uninterrupted medical service to patients.
The Christian Health Association of Ghana was established in 1967 with 60 clinics and now has 332 health facilities and 33 health training centers. The president of the Northern Shag, Pastor Dr. Kwame Queenin Boache, called for concerted efforts to revamp the National Health Insurance Scheme.
The funding regime that we've used since 2003, that funding regime is not working anymore, and it is a fact. Nobody can dispute that fact. The onus is now on we, the service providers, us, to join hands and sing one tune for our patients, our members, the rest of the community, to have some confidence in the two of us' ability to provide the service and use whatever they put in our hands as efficiently as possible.
The executive director of the Ghana Christian Health Association of Ghana, Peter Keyabua, lauded the role of the Christian health facilities to improving healthcare delivery. A former director of WHO, Dr. Nafaria Sumaba, called for concerted efforts to rebuild the Ghana Health Service.
I want to urge all of you here to play your roles dutifully so that together we can achieve much by improving the health conditions of our people and build a strong health system which can stand the test of time.
Now, the last one of 4 flats of the dilapidated Kaiser flat blocks has been pulled down. The demolition brings to an end the exercise by the Tema Development Corporation based on recommendations by NADMO.
The exercise, which began on Monday afternoon, took about 6 hours. Engineers from the 48th Regiment, personnel from the Tema Development Corporation, Environmental Protection Authority and the Ghana National Fire Service were on hand to protect lives and property. Last year, the National Disaster Management Organization declared the facility located in Tema Community 4 a danger zone, prompting the ejection of over 300 occupants. The demolition exercise started in February 1, 2018, after a Tema High Court order was secured by the TDC in 2013.
Let's do some international stories. Now, the first 8 boys rescued from a Thai cave complex are in good health overall as rescuers prepared to free the remaining 5 in a race against time and bad weather. 2 of the boys had suspected lung infections, but the 4 boys from the first group rescued were all walking around their beds. They are still being quarantined from their parents because of the risk of infection and would likely be kept in the hospital for a week to undergo tests, officials say. Well, that's it for news for this morning. New Day returns shortly after the break.
Well, the newspapers have come in and it's time for us to touch on the headlines so you know what's going to happen throughout the day and what happened exactly yesterday. BNFT says Barclays appoints Abna Osei-Poku as the new MD, and also the private sector loans have dropped by 3.6%. Then also NPLs reach 8.6 billion Ghana cedis record high. That's a BOG report coming through. And I hear the Barclays appointee would be approved by Bank of Ghana and then she'll go on to serve as the new MD of Barclays Bank. Moving on to the Finder, it says the law school exam saga resurfaces. Prof. Asari bemoans the delay in hearing injunction motion. There's an insert of Professor Kweku Asari. Also, Dr. Baumia has been appointed to serve on the board of a global body. Also, the UN backs inclusive consultations in the EC chair's appointment. Then Communications Ministry has finally submitted the Kelny GVG contract details to the Attorney General. Then finally, the petitioners want Charlotte Osei prosecuted, and they say they are indeed not faceless. The rest of the commissioners serving there do want prosecution for Madame Charlotte Osei. Then also Daily Guide says Otunfo grabs Ghana card. Then the sport minister has been cleared of the visa fraud. And then finally, Charlotte Osei is hot as she's dragged to Mr. Martin Amidu, the special prosecutor. So we have more details in the Daily Guide. When you buy one, you certainly will find out what is going on there. Moving on to Ghanaian Times. The chairman of the Christian Council is lamenting. He says too many crooks in cassock as he lashes out at fake pastors. There's an insert of him there. Also, the president has arrived in the Volta region for a 3-day tour. Then the president has reinstated the deputy sports minister, the NSA board chairman. Then there's minorities asking for a probe into Blaze issues over the vulgar opulence. Those are some of the stories on Ghanaian Times worthy of discussion. When I sit down with Bright, we certainly will go into details about that. Then Daily Graphic says, I'll close down courts not fit for the purpose. That's coming from the CJ because the Kaswa court uses a chamber port. Well, that is a very worrying situation in Accra. Then EC workers are dragging Charlotte Osei to the special prosecutor. So these are more on the front pages of our newspapers.
The Daily Graphic front page story is heartbreaking. That same story is also captured by the Finder in page 16. The Chief Justice visit to the magistrate court in Kaswa, and the magistrate there, what's her name? Madam Felicia Gandezi, suggesting that she uses a chamber port because her court doesn't have a urinal. I don't know, but how can we dehumanize the very people who are working for us? It's so heartbreaking. If I were her mother, I'll find a way to stop her from working. Why? And perhaps sue the government. I mean, this is dehumanizing. And she said that she has to keep the chamber port in the premises of the court. So continuously, she has to empty the port so that you don't get that bad smell in there. This is a court. I don't know, but, well, I don't know.
But Brian, how would you, in this current day, be allowed to put up a building structure without a washroom, particularly a court?
You see, for me, in solving problems, I prefer to look at what we call the low-hanging fruits, the ones you can easily pluck before you move on. Fine, the building has no washroom. Let's agree. But we cannot put up a washroom, a building in, let's say, even if we say a month. But we can rent one of these mobile toilets for this court. What is the assembly doing? Okay, even before we think about putting up the structure, okay, to get a washroom, can't we rent one of these mobile urinals for this woman? What kind of society is this? Is this a society worth working for and spending your energies dying for? Look, whoever is at the assembly should be ashamed of himself or herself. When we are going to do funerals, we'll go and rent these mobile toilets. When we're organizing functions at the assembly, we'll go and rent these mobile toilets. The woman is working. Every day she goes to sit there. We are told by you doctors that when you keep that thing in your thing for a long time, you run into trouble. And yet, this is what we are doing to her. How much is the cost of renting a mobile toilet?
That's unfortunate.
How much will it cost?
Particularly
shame
when
to the assembly. I mean, the Chief Justice to go there and say, shame to the assembly. I mean, what kind of society is this?
Anyway, this is not the news we should wake up to in the morning.
That's a very bad
anyway, let's move on. Also talking about the law school exam saga. And I think Professor Asari has issues he's raising that, if you're aware, the law school exam is to take place in July, 27th July. And yes, the court hearing is going to be read out on 29th, which for him seems like they're going against what the main point of him, exactly, the court orders. And so he's asking questions that why would it be so? Besides, the 29th happens to be a Saturday. So really, because how many courts then read their, injunction motions on Saturday? But anyway, we hope something happens. But I'm sure that students are also prepared, and so it doesn't look like the exam is going to be called off in this particular year. It looks like it would be allowed to take place, and then when the hearing is heard, it will affect the subsequent exams if it goes in his favor. But I think it's unfortunate because it's been in court since June, so at least by now they should have come out with something. Anyway. But congratulations to Dr. Bawumia. He's also been called to serve on a board of global body. I mean, that goes to show that at least what he's doing has been recognized by some other international bodies. And so we wish him the best as he goes out there. But interestingly, Bryce, the Christian Council, I think we all speak about it. And so finally to hear them put their voice to it, that there are too many crooks in Kasok, I think is real. There are too many fake pastors and people are always branding themselves. And we're going on and on saying, well, you can't touch God's anointed. But God also tells you by their fruits, you would know them. And so you should be discerning enough to know that this is a fake person or not. But I mean, it's all our itching ears. It's because a particular pastor is saying what you want to hear. And so everyone is flocking to go to that pastor because he's also doing the miracles that we want. And the prophecies are coming and all that. But it's high time Ghanaians sit up. Just like how we're discerning electorates now, I'm expecting that we'll be discerning Christians as well.
The chairman of the council, Reverend said, Senor Agidi, right, I think he's hit the nail right on the head. There are too many crooks in Kasok. If you take a look at the story, he raises several other issues. And I think that the church must wake up. For instance, he says that in times when our gutters are all choked, while one man in public office owns 4 V8 vehicles, and when some chiefs sell all the land in their village and leave none for their subjects, what purpose does this serve as a pastor going to look for envelopes from politicians in exchange of sycophantic sermons? And he's talking about the pastors who go ahead and predict party A will win, party B will do this, party A will have this done. It is good that he's flagging what he thinks is wrong in society. But for me, the question to ask is, if there are too many crooks in Kasok, whose job is it to remove them?
The Christian Council. But I guess with that, the
we have a role
difficulty is the spirituality.
We have a role to play.
How do you identify whether someone is I mean, called by God or not? It becomes a very dicey issue, and that's where they can't punish people wearing castocs because, right, you know, there are so many church springing up. There are so many schools that train pastors, and so unless those schools are not accredited to be doing that, then I think you can, you know, clamp down on the pastors who go through that training. Otherwise, I think they are in a particularly difficult situation because if the man says, I've been called by God, who are you to say it's not true?
Yes, but you see, the council will have to do more work.
Right.
So that even if the man says he's been called by God, the council, their members are training Christians to be able to know who indeed is called by God and who is not, so that we're able to go away from these. I think that there are various councils. There's a Pentecostal, charismatic council. There are others.
There's so many. How
well are they regulated? Sometimes some pastors misbehave. When you try to get to them, you are told that, oh, they don't belong to the Christian council, they don't belong to this council, so you can't deal with them.
Right.
Okay, the council can't deal with them. I think that if it means regulating these pastors so that they fall under certain regulatory bodies, so that when they do some of these things that are clearly against laid down rules and regulations, which I guess they have, because Christendom is not a chaotic situation where there are no rules and regulations. There is. So let us see how the Christian Council can sit down and see how these crooks in Kasok can be dealt with. I think opening up more teaching and getting a lot more people informed as to what they need to know will help so that we get rid of these crooks in there.
But you know, after the MPP conference, you'd have thought that this probing of, you know, Mr. Blay would have gone away, but the minority is still calling for it. And yesterday I heard GII representatives saying that indeed it's not that they're saying or
he's done
agreeing with the
wrong.
allegation.
No.
However, they think if there's an allegation, then we need to make the documents and the facts plain so that everyone can trust the system. If Mr. Blaze says, well, it wasn't vote buying, there was nothing wrong with what he did, he's just laid down the, you know, records. And then also people want to know how he funded all these buying, the activities. So if you put that out there, they know, okay, so Mr. Blaze went through process A, B, C, D to acquire his money, and because it's legitimate, maybe even political parties will start following that same trend to be able to get their monies, because we know funding for political parties has always been an issue. And so I think some of the claims that are coming up are genuine. If indeed Mr. Blay says there was nothing wrong with what he did, he should just lay down the processes and let people speak for themselves. I mean, let them judge for themselves as to whether it was vulgar opulence or not.
Amma, this morning, let me do some free consultation for political parties. I mean, in this case, the NPP. Look, this issue, okay, will be flagged in the 2020 elections.
It will.
If the NPP is prepared to spend all its time during the 2020 elections trying to answer this question, then they shouldn't allow a probe. They should just ignore it, sweep it over, and let it go. Right. If they don't want to spend all their time campaigning, everywhere they'll go, they'll be told that, hey, your man did this, they said it is this. How do you react? They should not allow a probe, or they should just ignore it and say, oh, it is his own private business, it is a bank to a client relationship, and find all excuses. They should let it go. But if they want to spend time selling their programs instead of defending this, they should quickly enhance whatever probe and from whichever institution now, so that it goes away and then they can sell their project and programs in 2020. I bet you this issue will not go today. If you like, mark it on the wall today. Whatever happens, the party must take a decision. And I am suggesting that they should allow a probe now. That's all I would say about this.
Anyway, so those are some of the issues arising after the MPP conference, and we're going to run still talking about some of the issues you identified that are, came out of this MPP conference. So let's step out and rant with Eric from the Western region.
Successful Congress to elect new national executive to steer the affairs of the party for the next 4 years. It was a sad day for slogans like time and so, the job day ground. On the other hand, it was all smiles for the likes of Mr. Fred Blay, Mr. John Boadu, and Mr. Sami Awoku. This morning on Daily Rant with me, Eric Yawajay, we want to find out whether the outcome of the Congress was a true reflection of what the delegates at the grounds wanted, or it was induced in any way. This is your Daily Rant. Apome.
Yeah,
okay. Me so election now okwe no. MPP for okwe no. I want to you on Esha would deserve there or there would di tumna.
Elections there. So follow politics. Obo who say one what winning in know a popular candidates are. Yen say definitely where they are be winning. Somebody like Samia Oku now obi a contesting and no Drew, and I say or you be close to Samia Oku continue him there kwakwa endorse Samia Oku. No share a John Boadu so we are no contesting. It was clear that John Boadu obafa. But there be a keen contest or a friends a youth organizer session na a chairman national chairman. On no close contest, but it was obvious there. Chairman Blay Oba because they were trying, if you follow politics, MPP for from the grassroots to constituency to the regional level, they were rewarding those who work hard for the party to win 2016 elections. Now, a role this Fred Blay play in the 2016 elections, so it was obvious that the delegates would elect him as the chairman of the party. So it was obvious that those, and then Samia Nanabi and then Dominic, one side didn't know, very tight. Okay, so we were expecting that a close mark, Baba. But it surprisingly they give us a very surprise figure.
I would say if the election was a true reflection and answer there on Kodie.
Oh, to how many the election or now on Shadanya true reflection. The reason why in any day Obia on Nam who be our mechanical behun the election it was induced because ye name the run up to elections and some more than obey because look if the obese auto 275 buses are into one city you will not spend a kobo na ozrecho the on sound so huge man farm. I think there are enough reason to induce you I bet then about to advise then as I'm a dem nipa corner. Look, somebody like Nana B, unless you be on follow ne campaigner or yeah, it was very extravagant. In terms of the we use national resources, now was it a campaign? Because Nana B, as Deputy National Service boss, it to me they about 2 or 3 Land Cruisers. Zinam, they a campaign at the expense of the state. Into the Nyama B or clearly no, and you don't be catch all there. I mean the elections was induced. Now because remember, because if they obey to me more than 2,000 cedis just for a vote, my brother.
Do you have it? Do you have it?
There will be 2,000 cedis for Congress now.
I saw maybe today branded drinks.
It was all
and
fake.
All that.
It was all fake. If you go to social media, even a cash branded with Fred Blay pictures and other things, you know. Who said them picture ne buy within about 5 minutes time now in team so didn't buy or 50 cedis note. Our bundle ya order in team so no picture at all. So it was all fake just to destroy one candidate or the other. And you know the internal elections there. So Ebaswa Obia here more by about discrediting the opponent. So the Ebaya or no need in the Eba Kosro. Until my you know, and get a true reflection of what happened at the grounds there. Yes,
my brother.
But it looks like Abano Okotunia, the problem is only at the national slots. Then comparatively, it wasn't induced in any way. Apart from nationally, you know, the other Nasara coordinator, treasurer, then actually was that peaceful.
No, it wasn't. But just there, Freddie Blay Nezono or Bodo, and you know Sunday, your Thanksgiving a walk and Stephen Team they didn't go. And yes, Stephen Team one qua. Because because Stephen Team there, a corner of for the way then. What tweeting you know when tweeting here. In fact, actually even pictures. From a year during the times where a handshake, what your presidents now, you could clearly see how are the sitting president of Kwampo no them. Ochia, a candidate like Stephen
meaning to what has happened on the ground. Let me tell you something. Say Obi lose election now. Definitely you expect that Nipakuna by a very peeve. Until Nipakuna ya peeve at that particular moment, you don't expect the person to join the winner to go and praise God. Until more day in every election, be a national NDC for election. What Kumasino. When you at Thanksgiving, no, the losers, whether they were there.
Has the MPP party been fair to Mr. Intim? Because this is the 4th time only. And if you look at the history of Mr. Freddie Blay, how he became a member, now Mr. Intim, how he became a member, obviously the two, they don't meet.
More than that, who join a political party, no person be a leader. It depends on how you comport yourself. Delegates on the ground, nobody can tell them what to do. And when I say home conscience, until they think about what will be the next situation. Say to about the Asimisia, what will be the next situation? What happened in Tamalino is something that has awakened the delegates up. Until so move to Aba, or more who twice and son and wire them or Waka Castle photo. Until Stephen Tim himself has to rebrand himself in a way that he will be acceptable to the delegates.
My brother, very simple. Stephen Tim one in the year. I'm not sure the reason why. Before the walk out to Wanabe, there was a circular. Now oil so visible all around. A presidency. Under the presidency of His Excellency Nana Danko Akufo-Addo. One chair for 1 year then. One to Abamfa man. Yes! And Freddie Blay was #1. They want to Abamman as chairman. Because presidents knew they know there are some certain people I cannot work with. Stephen Intim ne bona wire and they once upon a time, now or support Alan Cash.
Don't you think that the MPP tried to avoid a Paul Afoko situation where national chairman, the presidency will be at loggerheads?
Actually, the issues of Paul Afoko, it was between truth and lies. Now, has it been established there in Sema Paul Afoko and Kobne Japan? What can they for Ura Bankwa Yeboa? Are still well retained as national treasurer who there? Only the then aspiring to be president, President Akufo-Addo. They wait the party Niskano. Has it been established there on Yano Kwarana? No, nobody has cleared them.
If you say there because of supporter Alan Cash is now a government minister, a cabinet minister for that matter. Until Sani Pakune a government no say because of us support such a person until want to Abamfa manner. It's rather unfortunate. Now delegates in the Maya there, Obia so okay commitment. Obia committed to the party that didn't tell you how long he served in the party.
We have so many people in NDC who are from the CPP sector, and they are now holding violent posts. Even the president, the former president, President John Dramani Mahama, was a CPP member. Now he was the president of Ghana on the ticket of NDC. So if you are doing analysis in that manner, then he was also, his position has to be questionable. Until Mamala Canada, Obi Ababa Party, no a committed member, even a day. Nani Pakuni is so strong to commit himself for the party editing progress. The delegates will look at it and vote for the person, no matter how long you serve. If you serve long in the party and you don't comport yourself well, the delegates will never see you in that manner.
But Esha, with all the alleged cases of flamboyance on the part of Mr. Freddie Blake against that of Mr. Ntim, let's say margin now. It tells you that Mr. Ntim is really liked in the party.
Yes, he has more supporters in the party. But that doesn't mean that because he has more supporters in the party, he should misbehave.
Party is about numbers.
It's about numbers, yes, of course. Mamelba Canada
misbehaves.
No, what I mean
what do you mean?
He shouldn't use that support base to create any confusion in the party, because if somebody thinks there or was supporters to be a hard man, maybe he will, instead of accepting the outcome of the elections, you know, or different now, maybe on party.
Elections are okay. Every sound-minded Ghanaian, or you're very analytical and critical. But who in the day or inducement? Here, look, for Dr. Amakoba. Nebisane there elections now work. He is a political scientist. Nebisane elections now okwena onya 18 votes or a true reflection of what in Kofuna Nkasa them. Wape another one year them. Wampe.
Dr. Amakuba, it was predictable there or not here on the race in the move. Because Usha even daily guide and this daily graphic were published before the election. Those who were this close contestants were Stephen Ntim and then Freddie Blake. So he doesn't even come closer.
Okay. So those were the views of the gentleman I have with me here about what transpired on Saturday in Koforidua. This has been the Daily Rant from Takrady with me, Eric Yoje. Thank you so much for watching.
All right, thanks so much for staying there. Another good morning to you out there. And the newspapers are ready. My guests are seated. We'll take a look at all the stories on the front pages of newspapers. The Daily Graphic continues that story. The Chief Justice warning to close down courts not fit for purpose. Very, very dehumanizing story. Kaswa Court uses chamber port. That's a story. Too many crooks in Kasok as he lashes out at fake pastors. The Christian Council is talking the Charlotte Osei hot drag to the special prosecutor. The law school exams issue is still on the finder. Those are some of the pages, the papers I have here. My guest to do the talking, the member for the NDC's, he is a member of the NDC's legal team. Mr. Abraham Maliba is here. Good morning.
Good morning, Bright.
And I hope you're doing great.
Very well.
Thanks for joining us. And then I also have a Deputy Communications Director and Government Spokesperson on Social Services, Madam Fatimatu Abubakar. She's also here. Good morning, too.
Good morning,
Hope you're
Bright.
doing great.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us. Let's start this morning with this story. Very, very touching story. The Chief Justice seen it all. She went to Kaswa to visit one of the court, and she threatened to close down the Kaswa District Court and all other courts which are not purposely designed for the judiciary by the end of the year. She issued a threat when she visited the Kaswa District Court as part of a 4-day visit to the Central Region. She also visited the Wutu Senya Breku and Aguna Swedru Court. At the Kaswa Court, the magistrate of the court stunned the Chief Justice and her entourage when she brought out a chamber pot she had been using as a place of convenience to demonstrate the challenges confronting the court. Apparently, concerned about the matter, Madam Justice Akufu said that this is totally unacceptable. She expressed surprise at the general deplorable state of the Kaswa District Court and other courts in parts of the country where she had visited, describing it as a terrible place. So she's threatened to close down all courts which were not purposely designed for staff of the service by the end of the year. There will be so many closures of courts by the end of this. Under the Local Government Act 462, the assemblies are required to provide court structures. So, the blame goes to the assemblies. Mr. Malba, you go to court every day. Let me start this conversation with you. This is a case of the assembly simply refusing to do what is right.
Let me start by saying good morning to your viewers. And to say that as a practitioner in our courts, this story is not new to me. I'm not surprised. I'm not shocked. Indeed, if the Chief Justice is minded to go all over the country, he will see worse things. This is dehumanizing. It is so embarrassing to have the situation that we have in our court. Apart from the fiscal infrastructure that you find sometimes very weak, and you can see cracks in some of our district courts in the hinterlands. Even recently, our they call it cocoa, I've forgotten something.
The Cocoa Court.
Cocoa Affairs.
Cocoa Affairs Court.
You saw how it was. And so these are not new things. Probably because she's now going into the hinterland, she's beginning to see them. But those of us who go to the coast outskirts of Accra are not surprised to see this. You, in your intro, you indicated that under the Local Government Act,
right,
it is the assemblies who are supposed
That's
to...
in the story, right.
Yes, who are supposed to provide for the courts, which are, in fact, they are supposed to provide the edifice, and then the judiciary service will now stock the place. And so it's not as if we don't know who is responsible. We know. And so why are we not, as it were, cracking the whip? I also think that there is a need for the assemblies to begin to take a second look at the infrastructure of the various courts. I know that probably resources are dwindling because of the over-centralization of the funds in Accra here. But nonetheless, there's a need to prioritize these places because they are public places. If a court collapses or the infrastructure caves in, the number of people who will be affected is so huge. So I think that let's start from even telling the central government, and I think the Chief Justice must begin to talk about this, direct her request to the central government. The central government will ensure that funds are made available at the district assemblies for that to happen. I also think that this morning, this is an embarrassing situation for that assembly. This morning, there should be makeshift toilet facilities.
The mobile
ones.
That we see
they should just send it in there this morning. I don't want to mention the name, but we call it Kroba, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it, Kroba. Chamber Port.
Chamber Port. To have a lady, she's a lady judge, do it in there for who God knows how long. Maybe if the Chief Justice has not visited the place, she would have been quietly doing it. And it doesn't speak well of us. If this story goes out in the international community, we are a disgrace. And I think that there must be something this morning. The Zoom Lion and Co. they should invite them to deal with the matter this morning before we look at the final, solution to this problem.
Has putting up a whole new building. I visited a court in the Bongo district where, because the assembly had a function in the main assembly hall, the court had to vacate to a smaller place. And this is how bad the situation is. Madam Fati, now, how do we deal with this? The central government quickly getting the assemblies to find a way to deal with this? Is that how to go about it?
First of all, I'll say good morning to our cherished viewers and also use this opportunity to congratulate my party, the New Patriotic Party, for organizing a very successful conference, peaceful, very, very successful one this weekend in Koforidua.
Right.
First of all, I was concerned when I read the story, and especially yesterday when I monitored discussions in the media. it is important to us that our judiciary is resourced. Quite recently, you saw that they did some renovations and also opened some new court complex. But beyond that, we are hoping that the conditions in some of the districts outside Accra would receive the kind of facelift that they are giving in Accra. But what surprised me was that this morning, I monitored a couple of platforms, and the chief executive of the assembly in Kaswa came out to say that the assembly is housing the magistrates, and the assembly has 8 toilets, of which they have allocated 1 for the magistrate, for the said judge. So they are surprised at this development. So at that moment, it was a bit confusing, but the general admission that some of our courts are actually in a deplorable state. And if it's a call on all of us, I believe it's a responsibility that even goes beyond the central government to make sure we are able to put them in the best of shape. Yes. So I believe that with specific reference to that story, now that the chief executive has also come out,
then we need to find out.
We need to do some fact finding to see if actually the said judge was actually using chamber pots, because as of now is the judge's word against the chief executive.
Okay, yes. I'm sure this is a story we'll follow. But the assemblies and their inability to have the resources to equip courts, buildings with the proper fittings, central government should go to their aid?
Yes, it's a good call. But you know, the assemblies, let's look at the capacities of the assemblies. Apart from the common fund, some of them, all the assemblies are also encouraged to get internally, to mobilize funds internally through their IGF system. But you realize that if you have to look at some of the districts, they just lack the capacity because we don't have businesses or the kind of properties where you can go and charge those property rates and collect other revenues to be able to resource the assemblies. And when the common fund is when the allocation from the common fund goes to the assemblies, I believe they are not just allowed to do whatever they want to do with it, with the total amounts. It also comes with the kind of specific rules that they are supposed to deal with. Yes.
So the court buildings and facilities are not a priority for them, I guess.
I believe there should be a collaboration between the judiciary and the assemblies. The assembly may have to take part of the responsibility, but the judiciary, through their own allocation from central government, would also, as they have done before, would also find a way to step in for us to get a very quick resolution to this problem, because it is very important to us. We have made sure the executive, we are doing the best for the executive from the central government all the way to the districts. And we also talk for the legislature. I don't understand why any arm of the government should be left out. So we will all come together to see how best we can call on the stakeholders to make sure these issues are resolved.
But you see, when you look at the government policy of reducing the amount of money that is
capping the statutory funds,
sending those monies to the district assemblies, the district assemblies will tell you, and from experience, I've heard some of them indicate that times are hard for them. They are unable to meet some of their challenges. And so it's also from the government side that their own policy is becoming inimical to to the development at the district level. And that has been what the minority has been saying in Parliament, that such conduct where you reduce, you cap the amount, you bring it to the central government, it's under how it comes out, I guess, and then you centralize it. There's no way that at the central government level here, they will be thinking about a district assembly's court. You see that their priority is something else with the monies that they have collected at the central. So they may have to rethink their policy of taking or capping those resources and making the assemblies look poorer and poorer.
But what about the fact that, I mean, central government says that the money that goes there, gets wasted? That was the argument. There's no proper
I am surprised that central government will speak this way. You have a monetary system. In fact, now we have a monitoring minister. what happens to cracking the whip. The solution is not to take away the funds. Where are the people of this country most needing development? Where? Apart, if not the rural areas. Now you say you are going to, because of a public officer's incompetence, you are punishing the people. My grandmother who is at the village there. So I think it is not, it doesn't gel, it doesn't sound well for me.
Madam Fati, the capping, did it take away revenue from the assembly?
If I can stay categorically, I don't think that there's been any significant reduction. I mean,
in
significant reduction in what the assemblies get. If anything at all, I believe there's been some dynamism in the kind of operations at the assembly level because of the introduction of the Ministry of Special Initiative and the development authorities. It is also an additional step or another step to make sure we are able to get our decentralization grounded. You would admit that maybe the specific needs of the 3 northern regions may not be the same needs as Greater Accra or even Ashanti region. And therefore, if there are some special initiatives that are targeted at some areas, you would not expect that it will be a slate, all the assemblies including the new ones, about 254, are going to operate in the same manner. No. You would have to find a way for dynamic implementation of government policies. And I believe the introduction of the development authorities have come to even push a lot more resources to the assemblies. And I believe that is a good thing. Since the laws that are governing the authorities were passed and the governing boards and the chief executives were also introduced, I believe there's been a lot of paperwork, and sooner than later you would see how
the assemblies will get more resources.
Yes, at
all right,
that level.
We wait and see. At the conference in Koforidua, the president announced that he's reinstating the suspended deputy sports minister. That's the story in the Daily Graphic. The reinstatement, we told this yesterday, we were told he reported to the office. According to the president, the report of the inquiry into the allegations, which was submitted to the president on Friday, July 6, 2018, contained no adverse findings against them. And so Mr. Powers, Hajide, and Mr. Bajaman, Kwejo Bajaman, they are back at post. Fatima, the suggestion is that the president should have made the report known to the public. How do you react to that?
That should be the prerogative of the president, and I believe probably it may not stay this way forever. Right. If he thinks it calls for releasing the report, why not? He will do so. But I am not surprised at all at the outcome of the investigations, because anyone who has knowledge about sports, especially with the Ghana Olympics Committee and also the International Federation, you would realize that governments do not really have much to do with the day-to-day runnings of such committees, just like the GFA. The role that governments play, probably because it is about the country, has to do with funding and also some policy directives that may necessarily affect such institutions. Other than that, the president of the Olympics Committee, together with his team, including the chef de mission, are those who are directly responsible with issues relating to visas and so on and so forth. And you can, if you can remember, this wasn't the first time that such incidents had happened. It had happened before in 2009, I think. And I believe the president's approach has been that if there is any allegation against any of his appointees, he will make sure it is investigated either by the CID, by a committee, by the special prosecutor, and what have you. And I believe that posture alone is something that is worth commending, because at the end of the day, we will not just sweep anything under the carpet. And also, we would not say that just because you have been accused, you are condemned, even without getting fair hearing. So I believe it's a step in the right direction. When the GFA, when the expose from Anas Aremeyaw Anas came out, there was a committee quickly, when the report was received, government took the necessary step to find a way to interfere to make sure they are able to dissolve GFA and later on engage FIFA and what have you. So I believe that approach alone is commendable. It is not as if the president shielded the deputy minister in a way that, okay, the accusations have been made, but we are not going to do anything about it. We've seen that in the past, but this time around, he's gone all the way to make sure investigations are done by independent bodies. And I am not surprised at all about the outcome.
If the public is demanding that the persons who found their way there, something went wrong, and so even if these two were not found culpable, we should be told the story of how they got there. Would they be asking for legitimate demands?
That's legitimate. I believe so. Just that it's just yesterday or from the Congress, and I believe as the week goes by, we will be able to
get the full story.
Yes, the full story will come out. But quite apart from that, there's been so many times that we've had incidents like this and no report, no investigation. We didn't hear anything about it whatsoever. So for anyone like the president to believe that when any allegation is leveled against any of his appointees, we should take the necessary steps to do investigations into them. And if you are found culpable, we should make sure the necessary punishments apply. And if you are innocent, we should not say that, okay, public opinion, you were judged wrongly, and for that matter, you are condemned. I believe that will not be fair to anyone in any circumstance. And we should not expect that such harshness be applied to the deputy minister.
Right. Mr. Maliba, so this is the story. The deputy sports minister is back to work. The board of the NSA is also back to work. The president says no adverse findings against them in the report of inquiry, which was done after the allegations. How do we handle this now that they are back? The persons who went and were returned, something definitely went wrong. So should this be the end of it?
Have you realized that under this administration, all committees appointed to investigate government appointees have returned a verdict of no wrongdoing, except that of Charlotte Osei? Have you realized that? That's food for thought for the people of this country. Now, the report, according to our president, says that the two persons, I think it's not only the minister, there's another person.
The board chair of the Sports Authority.
Are cleared, and that there's no wrongdoing on their part. But there is wrongdoing in the sense that there was visa racketeering. People were returned from Australia. Indeed, it was an international spectacle. So, if you have exonerated the two persons, what did the police report say? A police report will not just end at Mr. So and so have not committed wrong. I know that a police report will go further to say that, however, these were the people. No police report will just end at no wrongdoing has been done on the part of the minister. Because every police investigation is to deal with the mischief. And what is the mischief? That in this country, one morning, we found out that persons who could not read and write were presented to Australia as journalists. And they were brought back. That's the wrongdoing. That wrongdoing, who is the one who airlifted those people to Australia? The police report, Mr. President, I'm asking you, what did the police report say on that? And so, just as such is not surprised, I'm not also surprised that under this administration, if the president wants you out, he can get you out. If the president doesn't want you out, there's a way by which a report would clear you. Plethora of examples. I don't want to go there, but let me mention a few. Cash for seats. Before that committee even started, I said that, look, that committee is going to whitewash what has happened. And I entreated, it's on the net, I entreated the minority group to come out with a minority view. That attempt was scuttled by Parliament. So I'm not surprised. It's chronic. It's something which is a chronology of events that should suggest that this government would always use the police administration to whitewash its appointees.
You don't trust the police administration? That's a
Why would I?
State institution.
Yes. And I don't trust the police administration because of the one singular act done by the current CID boss, Adodankwa, what's the other name?
Madam Tiwa.
Tiwa. Where she was heard on tape, coaching suspects and telling them not to disgrace the administration. And ever since she was promoted to become the substantive, I knew that that was going to be the end of proper investigations and police work in this country. So I will never, ever believe what the police says. I think that it's an indictment on them to have Madam Tiwa still heading that institution in some serious jurisdictions. In fact, having heard her make those comments would have been the end of her in that service. But she has been promoted, rewarded by the same Nana Adodankwa Akufo-Addo to do these things that she's doing. So she's not surprised, I'm not surprised, and we go on. Country broke, you know, broke, we're all day inside.
Madam Fatide, should the president had made us know who were those involved in sending these persons to Australia first before reinstating these persons?
First of all, I'm baffled. Madame Charlotte Osei is not the only person who
a committee has indicted.
Yes, has indicted. Kwesi Nyantechi's issue to a committee quickly looked at the video before they gave a report to the president. So that assertion is false. And if it was made with any kind of, malice, I'm surprised. Also, the cash for seat was not investigated by the CID. It was investigated by an independent body. And also, when it came to the allegations leveled against the energy minister during the vetting, it was Parliament that investigated, unless the same rod applies to the minority, saying that he does not believe the position of the minority, some of the minority members who said they never received anything from the minister at the time. I don't understand why all these institutions, including the minority, when it came to the investigation done by the Parliament, he would like to push everything and throw it at the doorstep of the president. But I believe that these investigations are called for, and people have right to know what happened. But even before the report came out, at the time that the issue was all over on air, PRO, members of the Ghana Olympics Committee came out to clarify that, you know what, when it comes to journalists, journalists are allowed to go and apply online. They did it individually. Just that the verification was in such a way that the International Federation would write to the Ghana Olympics Committee to verify the existence of such media houses and such persons. And that verification was not done by the Deputy Minister or the board chair of the Sports Authority. And if you could remember, even the Deputy Minister was not even at Gold Coast in Australia at the time. So I don't understand why, if there are wrongdoings on the part of the GOC, it is not just the government who is supposed to crack the whip. It is the International Federation on whose articles or whose authority that the Ghana Olympics Committee was established that will come up with some punishment of a sort if they find any wrongdoing on the part of the Ghana Olympics Committee. I have not received any update as to what at the Olympics Committee level they are doing at the moment, but probably there will be some exchange of letters or engagement whatsoever as a result of the scandal. But if there is no wrongdoing on the part of the Deputy Minister, there is no reason why he should suffer.
Take him on.
We can take him on for it.
But he also raises the issue that if the police said there's no wrongdoing on the part of the minister and the board chair, the report won't stop there. The report should tell where the wrongdoing is.
That is why I said it is early days yet.
Okay.
You would admit that after the president announced that he was going to reinstate him, just yesterday, the president left for Volta region for his tour, which he will finish tomorrow. It means we've not even had that much time to do the back and forth, and I believe as media engagements continue, a lot more will come out of the story. But we shouldn't forget about the principle of non-interference. It has to take some amount of evidence and some extraordinary circumstances for us to just throw away everything related to the international bodies and take other steps to salvage the image and reputation of the country. But if it is said that there can be a collaboration, then it is necessary for us to take our time and make sure the appropriate punishments are given after investigations.
Finally, Mr. Maraba, I'll come to you. Just 1 minute. I asked you earlier that should the president has announced that, okay, so Mr. ABC were those who have been implicated in this. Therefore, I am reinstating my deputy and board chair. Could the president have done that?
I leave that discretion to the president. Yes.
You see,
I'm grateful. Mr. Malaba, come in.
Crime has no barriers. You can be an international executive officer, but if you commit a crime in Ghana, our laws will catch up with you. What happened was a crime. So to hide behind their Olympic Committee members, so what? So the laws of Ghana cease to work because somebody has become an Olympic Committee member? That is begging the issue. Crime has been committed. I expect that the police report presented to the president would have informed the president, and since the president has taken it upon himself to announce the return of those people, he should have indicated to the people of this country who voted him into power to provide us with those who engage in those acts. But to just end at the recall and without telling the people of this country who caused the disgrace in Australia, for me, begs the issue. I don't know which committee that Nyantechi appeared before. I don't know about that. But I also know that the Upper West Regional Minister has been reinstated, I'm told. So I can give you a plethora of examples where the president doesn't want it to happen. It won't happen. And once Tiwa is still the CID, these things will continue to happen. We are going to get more clearance since the president has become the clearing agent for his appointees.
The Daily Guide this morning says, Charlotte said hot drag to Amidu. Now, the story, Yawusu's story is suggesting that the woes of the sacked Electoral Commission chair appear not to be over, as the commission staff who initiated her removal from office are pursuing her over alleged corrupt deals. This time around, they are heading to the office of the special prosecutor with a dossier on the former EC boss to ensure her prosecution. We should state that we should use all legal means available to us to ensure that her removal is permanent and cast in stone. That's from one of the petitioners, Rabiu Suleimana, who spoke on behalf of the EC staff that were the petitioners in Mrs. Osei's case. A press conference in Accra yesterday as carried out by the Daily Guide. Mr. Malaba, now the petitioners were said to be faceless. Yesterday's press conference, according to them, one of the reasons was to show their faces. Now they are suggesting that the special prosecutor take over this case.
I thought that the committee, the Chief Justice Committee, had established that Madame Charlotte Osei has breached the Procurement Act.
Right.
And the basis, fraudulent basis upon which, even though the Procurement Act does not say that if you breach it, your punishment is removal, even though there's nowhere in the Procurement Act that says that. So having established that crime has been committed, why are they presenting evidence to the special prosecutor to investigate again? I thought that straight away, prosecution straight away, from the committee's work, the evidence from the committee's work could have just been sent to one of the courts. We have so many courts. This is it, prosecuting. Why are they? So it now comes back to the question that did the committee have the authority, the power to stand on the breach of a Procurement Act to recommend removal? Because this is a criminal act. Nowhere in the Constitution, Article 146, that says that if there's a breach of an act of Parliament, that will lead to removal. Nowhere. That if you breach the Procurement Act, if you breach the District Assembly Act, if you breach, it has not stated anywhere that a breach of an act is grounds for removal. So they have removed it, which means that the committee's work and findings are authentic, which means that criminality has been established. Why do you now go? So what if the special prosecutor, after his investigations, says that no wrongdoing has been committed? Where are we? Have we gone or have we come? What if they present the thing to a special prosecutor and Martin Amidu comes and says, oh, no wrongdoing has been committed? Have we gone or have we come? So there are a lot of questions. Or they know. Already they know that, what is it? We appointed a special prosecutor, so we want what will be done, it will be done. So we will send to Madam Amidu. Oh, Madam Amidu is our appointee, so it will pass through. Is that what they are saying? What if Madam Amidu comes out? In fact, I heard Penka, the Deputy Attorney General, in the aftermath of the findings of the committee, saying that they will take the documents and also review them and see before, if there's criminal, they can go to court. Are you listening to the state institutions, what they are saying? So they themselves need to do investigations. I'm asking the question, the multi-million question. What if the Attorney General, the Special Prosecutor, after the investigations, finds that no wrongdoing has been done and that there's no evidence to prosecute? We have been in this country where Attorney Generals have said there's no evidence to prosecute, isn't it? We have been in this country. So what if the conclusion of the investigations point to that? Have we gone or have we come?
Okay, I put that question to Madam Fatimatu Abubakar when we're back from this short break. Stay with us. All right, my guests are still here. Mr. Brahma Malborough of the NDC, Madam Fatimatu Abubakar, Deputy Communications Director at the Jubilee House and Government Spokesperson on Social Services, all here. Let me quickly come to you. So his argument is that the committee found out what he calls breaches of certain procurement rules. So he fails to understand why we want to ask the special prosecutor to again investigate. He thinks that will be in some kind of, what he puts it, whether we went or we came in there.
Thank you. I believe we are talking about two separate things.
Right.
If you look at Article 1461, they give grounds for removal of a justice of a Superior Court of Judicature. You know the conditions, the terms of employing an EC is also similar to that of the Superior Court judge, specifically with the judge of the Court of Appeal. And for that matter, those rules directly apply. And it states that such persons cannot be removed except for stated misbehavior or incompetence. So I am surprised that lawyer says he has not seen anywhere in the Constitution where they said breach of the procurement laws amounts to removal. I believe if it is established that the breach constitutes incompetence or stated misbehavior, I believe then Article 1461 applies directly. And I know the NDC, you know, they are doing selective application. And I know he knows, but in this instance, he would refuse to allow that to apply. But let us have one thing clear. The petitioners are saying that beyond the removal, they believe they have evidence to the effect that Madame Charlotte said dealt with some companies in a way that constitutes conflict of interest, breach of trust, and abuse of office. And if these actions led the state to lose some money or anything, we cannot just say that she is no longer in office, she has been removed. All that we have lost and everything should be kept under the carpet and we should move on. I believe that attitude would not help this country at any point in time. It will not help us. We have over and over again tried that beyond the findings of the committee, and let me state emphatically, the president did not remove the EC chair, and the president will not remove the EC chair for any reason. The president will not be a beneficiary of the removal of the EC chair. If for anything, appointing the EC chair cannot make you win an election, and the 2016 election was evident to that assertion. President Mahama appointed Madame Charlotte Osei. She was EC chair. President Mahama did not win an election. So in that regard, I don't understand why anyone with malice or any reason would believe that the removal of EC chair is a bonus to the New Patriotic Party or the president. We are not beneficiaries of that action. But what they have to look at is the substance of what the allegations that were leveled against them. And the fact that is the committee that had, it was the Chief Justice that established a prima facie case. It was the committee that did investigations, which directly involved the EC chair and her deputies. She even went ahead to testify against her deputies. And I believe other people were engaged accordingly. I don't understand how the removal of the EC chair will benefit us in any way. But beyond the removal, if there were losses to the state, if there were issues of conflict of interest, I believe it is reasonable
that
for
the
us
petitioners
to test,
come in again.
Yes, to test the institutions that we have established.
So for you, the committee did not find evidence suggesting criminality. Because that's Mr. Malaba's argument, that if the committee found evidence of criminality, why are the petitioners again asking for another investigation?
The committee's work, we should look at the scope and the limits within the mandate that the committee has per constitution or per any law that we have in this country. If the work of the committee was to establish that there was wrongdoing, if they've established that, I believe that they will work within the framework that has established the committee. But beyond that, if there are any laws that may apply, why not? I am not a lawyer, but I believe the petitioners are led by legal people. And Madame Charlotte Osei also has a lawyer or a team of lawyers. And I believe they will test the institutions that are available, including the courts. And if there is any way to resolve this issue in the future. But we should not deny any petitioner or any Ghanaian the opportunity to go and test the law or test the state institutions if they believe they have cause to do so.
Mr. Malba, so under that Article 146, stated misbehavior and competence, I mean, if it's a breach of procurement laws, it falls under that, and so she can be removed and under that article.
That is strange. That is, you see, there's a matter in court. What the committee did when they got to that part where they realized that it was a breach of the Procurement Act, now sought to interpret those conduct to mean stated misbehavior and incompetence. Now they are not the Supreme Court. That has the power to, and then, so that's why somebody is in court trying to ask the Supreme Court to give meaning, flesh, to the stated misbehavior and incompetence. So at that point, when they got to the point that it was about the Procurement Act and it bordered on criminality, they were not a law again, they were not a court. So they couldn't have made pronouncements on criminal matters. So there are a lot of questions about what the committee did. And for me, I think that that is why people are asking questions and saying that, was it not premeditated? Who didn't know that the MPP wanted this woman out? And who didn't know that the president himself, when he went to Germany, then a candidate, indicated that Charlotte Sell is scheming with the governing party, then NDC, to steal the elections in Germany. And so if you make this pronouncement, let's forget about what Kenya Japan said. These are all matters that are known. But she's from the Flagstaff House. There's a petition against the Chief Justice. Do you know what your bosses are doing about it?
Okay, you're not allowed to ask questions.
Okay.
All right, but let's quickly move to the Times. The Mr. Blay issue is alone. Probe Blay over vulgar opulence. The minority there, and they're asking that the activities and the account of Mr. Freddie Blay be probed. They claim that he should also step aside as board chair of GNPC so as not to interfere with investigations. Is a probe necessary into the activities of Mr. Blay?
If they wish to do so. But I think it is sad. I have heard the arguments of members of the National Democratic Congress and their cronies, their party faithfuls, to point to the fact that, oh, Mr. Blay shouldn't have procured the buses he did. And I was shocked. First of all, Mr. Blay's connection with this government is the fact that he's a board chair. He's not even an executive director of a state institution. He's
It makes
not
him a public
minister.
official.
But he is not directly involved as in the administration.
Of the
you know, usually when executive directors are appointed, the role of the board and the chair are more or less like a non-executive role. Not all the, let me say, not all the members of a board are executive members. And for that matter, he is not in a position to even unilaterally take any money whatsoever from a state agency to use it to support a cause. But I believe, yes, it's politics, and NDC will find ways and means to try to tarnish the hard-earned reputation of Mr. Freddie Blay. First of all...
But if you're calling for probe, how does it tarnish his image?
No,
Mr. Blay is a public figure. He chairs a political party. That is a public institution. So if there's an issue and they want a probe, how does it tarnish his image?
He has, first of all, I'm not talking about the probe simpliciter.
Okay.
I'm talking about the malice attached to it.
All right.
He, first of all, when the issue came up and some civil society organizations issued statements to that effect, he went on air. He said he welcomes any probe whatsoever. He stated categorically that he is using a bank facility or to help the constituencies of the New Patriotic Party, and he is doing so just by giving collateral for them to procure the buses, and the constituencies will do work and pay with it, and they will be able to generate enough resources to pay for the cost of the buses and subsequently get something to assist with their welfare at the constituency levels. Is this new? No, it is not new.
Okay.
There has been several times where individuals have purchased buses, giving it to VIP or STC to operate, charge management fee, and also earn some income at the same time.
Okay.
I don't think this is anything
bad.
Yes.
Okay, I'm grateful. I've run out of time. Mr. Mala, please come in. I have run out of time.
I think that this is once again another disgrace brought upon our democracy. If democracy could speak and not speak through human beings like us, democracy would have been wailing for this country. From the embarrassment of the speech, plagiarized speech, through the selling of seats through the president, now we are having this 275 buses.
I'm shocked.
you'll be shocked because even your own conservative parliament member of parliament, John Watt,
some of the multinationals
castigated and took a swipe at the MPP. The man who came from outside, the visitor, castigated the MPP. The opulence. Now, what are we going to do now? The next time we are going to be buying houses for people. Why are we escalating corruption under this administration?
Multi-million headquarters.
Why?
NDC got a multi-million headquarters for their party.
This government is every day embarrassing this country. Embarrassing this country.
The giant
you see what the
said, country,
that the issue of their voting was okay. I am surprised that a president who campaign on fighting corruption should say in Kofrodio that everything went on well. Did he see what happened? Did he see the 275 buses?
Everything indeed went on well.
I'm grateful, gentleman and lady, for your time.
Corruption is now escalating.
A deputy communications director at the Jubilee House and government spokesperson on social services. Abraham Maliba is a member of the NDC. Gentlemen, I'm grateful. Gentlemen and lady, I'm grateful for your time. Stay with us. We'll be back in a moment.
Well, your favorite network, Vodafone, is celebrating 10 years, and they have some offers for you just to celebrate along with them. Joining me, of course, is the CEO of Vodafone Ghana, Yolanda Cuba. Good morning, Yolanda. How are you?
Good morning, how are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Yeah.
It's nice to always have you back on set. But tell me, 10 years down the line, how does that feel for you?
As Vodafone, we're really excited. I mean, I've got two sets of shareholders, the government of Ghana at 30% and then Vodafone PLC at 70%. So I've got the most diverse kind of views and actually trying to balance between the social needs, financial return and everything else that you have to do in order to actually deliver to the people of Ghana has been really exciting for us. You know, in fact, our 10-year celebration we've termed a decade of connections and a future of possibilities, and it's limitless possibilities from our side.
Yeah. Nice. So what exactly do you plan for your customers in these 10 years? How are you carrying us along to celebrate with you?
So for the next 30 days, effectively, we've actually introduced what we call an anniversary offer. And that anniversary offer allows our customers to have 10 times the benefit. In fact, it's a bonus that we give them every time they recharge for 2 CDs and above. And it doesn't end there. I mean, last year we had Ekikimi. This is now Ekikimi at another level. You know, it's extreme Ekikimi. And we're giving you 10 times. And now the person who's recharging and 2 other people can share the same recharge and get 10 times more as well. And in order to simplify our customers' lives, we've said you will pay 10p as your normal tariff across the board. So from today, if you subscribe onto the offer, you pay 10p, whether you call other networks, our network, for data, for everything. It's all 10p.
Nice. Yeah. I'm sure this sounds too good to be true, but you say it's out there. How does one, access this offer?
So you have to dial *135# on USSD, or just dial 135, and you can access the offer. It is just that simple.
Right. But how long is this going to last?
It's going to last for the next 30 days. So as part of our celebration, this is basically us saying to the people of Ghana, enjoy our network. We are here for you.
Okay. Yeah. But is there any special rule, any do's and don'ts for this offer?
So we don't have any special do's and don'ts. The only thing that we've said is you have to recharge for 2 CDs or more. And then the bonus that we give you lasts for, if you recharge now, it'll last until the next midnight. So effectively, if you recharge now, you'll be on for a day and a half. Obviously, if you recharge just before midnight, it's another 24 hours. But the earlier you recharge, the better for you. Yes.
Right. But you said 2 other people would also enjoy.
Yes.
And so in extension, they also have just up till midnight for it to expire. Great. And so what does this bonus allow you to do?
You can do all on-net calls on Vodafone to Vodafone calls. You can do any amount of data you want on our network. So literally, as I'm saying, it's Ekikimi just to another level.
Anyway, so altogether, I mean, 10 years down the line, we've had some interesting promos from you, interesting packages. Yeah. But what more should we look forward to from Vodafone?
Like, I mean, the biggest thing that we're actually doing right now is making sure that we're ready for ourselves for what we call a gigabyte society. Okay. And basically, as Vodafone, we want to drive the whole notion of a digital Ghana. And by doing that, we have to actually invest in newer technology. And that's all I'm going to say today.
You're just giving us some tidbits there.
Yes.
But, I mean, where do you see yourself as Vodafone Ghana currently? And where do you see yourself going as well with your people?
So in terms of the company itself, we see ourselves as a capable competitor to the incumbent in the country. So right now, everyone says Vodafone is number 3 after the merger and so on and so on. We said we were number 4 before we went all the way to number 2. Right. We are number 3 by customer numbers, but by revenue market share, we're actually still number 2. So, but we will actually get there. We will be the de facto number 2 in this market by the end of this financial year.
But since you took office, what would you say has been the response of customers to the many things you've rolled out? Because, I mean, we saw a change with things, making it more interactive, trying to get more customers onto the platform. What would you say from your point of view?
I think what I've enjoyed the most in my time so far is really exactly that, that we've gotten closer to the customer. I mean, it doesn't matter whether the complaint is on Twitter, whether it's on Facebook, people actually get responses sometimes directly from me. I actually interact with customers directly. My senior management interacts directly with customers, and we're listening to customers. So our latest launch, for example, was in fiber, where in fixed broadband, where we actually said to our customers, we heard what you said, and we are doing something about it. And basically, what our customers are saying is, I'm buying my fixed broadband at home, and I'm not finishing my allocation. So what can I do with that? Because it feels a bit unfair for me when I still have my mobile and I still am buying data on my mobile. We said, that's fine. Take your fixed broadband with you on your mobile. Just allocate a mobile number, and take it with you. It's not a problem for us at all. So we actually are listening to our customers a lot more, and we are actually acting on what our customers are saying. Even with in designing the promotion that we have for our anniversary offer, one of the feedback that the customers are consistently giving us, they say, we're paying this rate for off-net, we're paying this rate for on-net calls, we're paying this rate for data, we're paying this rate for this. And we're saying, actually, you know what? This time we are going to simplify it. It's 10p across. It doesn't matter what you do on the network. If it's data, if it's voice, if there's other networks and so on, we will keep it at 10p right across.
Nice. And so any final words for us from Vodafone?
Most important thing is subscribe. This offer requires that you actually do the initiative yourself and actually dial the *135 hash to actually get onto the offer. And the second thing is Vodafone is here for you. For us, Vodafone has been here for 10 years, and we've actually made an impact in the country. We want to sustain making an impact in the country. We will continue driving the digital evolution of Ghana, and we want to be part of everything that happens in Ghana. We have 10 years of proving that we can connect. Now we're moving forward and we're saying we want to be part of a limitless possibility for Ghana.
Okay. So finally, when are you wrapping up the celebrations, or when are you actually starting? When is the anniversary date?
The actual anniversary date, we're actually having an anniversary dinner on the 18th, the official one. But actually, the transaction was announced on the 3rd of July, 2008. And basically, this month will be all celebrations right across. We started off with our employees on the 3rd of July, because we thought it was important that the first people that we actually celebrate with are the people that actually have made this possible. So this is a journey for us, and we're excited about it.
Nice. Yeah. We are excited about it too. We have been speaking to the CEO of Vodafone Ghana, Yolanda Cuba, and she's been telling us about the 10-year anniversary promo. It is pretty simple. They're making everything simplified for you. Why won't you join them? Certainly, it's time to join them to celebrate. And I'd like to say a very big thank you to you once again for joining us. We'll take a break. We'll be back with more as General Mosquito will join us here. Let's see.
Good morning once again, and thanks so much for joining us. Now, let's wrap up the day with a very huge interview. We'll take a look at the NPP's conference, the NDC, why it was not there. We'll take a look at the president's speech and other speeches from the former president as well as the UK Conservative rep. We'll also try and look at exactly how the NDC is putting its house in shape ready for 2020. My guest is a huge one, the General Secretary of the NDC. General Mosquito is here. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hope you're doing great.
I'm doing great.
Thanks so much. Let's start the conversation this way. The memorial service for the former Vice President, how did it go, and the arrangement for the 1 week and then the funeral proper?
Well, when we lose a member like that, we defer to the customs and his own wishes, the wishes of their family. So in this particular case, after the loss, we engaged the family, and everything was indicating that they were not going to do a full-blown 1 week celebration, and that his wishes and the wishes of the family are that there will be a 1 week memorial church service. And so that was what we planned around.
Okay, so there's not going to be any 1 week customary thing in Cape Coast?
No, nothing anywhere. And so the final funeral arrangement would then be announced at the 1 week event. And so that was why we did the 1 week Friday evening from 3 p.m. to 6. So we finished with the 1 week memorial service, and at that service, when we were closing, the family elder came to announce that apart from the church service, no other activity should be held anywhere, to commemorate that 1 week, because that is the wish of the family and the wish of the deceased.
I see.
And so 1 week, as far as we are concerned, has ended. And the announcement was to the effect that the final funeral rites will be held around 27th of this month. They don't want to wait for a very long time, so everything is just a crash program that will be planned.
Weekend.
Yes,
to wrap up
that
and find him a befitting burial.
And the funeral service will be held also in Accra International Conference Center. The body will be laid in state there, and the service itself will be held inside there. After that one, there would be a private burial to be attended by people only on invitation. Yeah, so that was the information that was ready and that was released. Since then, the committee has been meeting, and so if there are any further issues that we want the public to know, we'll make it available to the public.
Great. Why did NDC not turn up for the NPP's conference?
I thought the reason should be obvious. First of all, the state itself, apart from NDC declaring a period of mourning, the state itself has also declared a period of mourning, and the flags, both NDC flags and state flags, wherever they are hanging, are flying at half-mast. And even as at this morning, the flags at the presidency are still flying at half-mast. So if this is the contribution of the state, then you come to think about what should be the contribution of the people who are affected, that is NDC and the family. If you realize, I stopped talking to the press since his death, and so the first time I spoke to the press was after the memorial service, and it had to do with arrangement about the funeral and my personal relationship and everything about that death. And so we were invited on this particular occasion to the MPP Congress, and I received those letters on Thursday afternoon when everybody had left to prepare for the Friday event. So it wasn't possible to have a meeting of my executives to take a decision. And so I just circulated the information and indicated that we will all be meeting at the 1 week celebration, and then see what could be done. So when we met, and the announcement for the funeral, the date for the funeral so close, and other things, the other engagement that we will be involved in, it became clear that no member of the National Executive will be available to attend the function. Then luckily, in attendance was His Excellency, the Vice President. So immediately after the event, I approached him and thanked him that, well, my brother, we usually call ourselves my brother. I also respond, my brother. My brother, we want to thank you. We are touched by your presence. And that I personally have heard your name being announced, that you were already in Koforidua and so on. So we didn't think that you'll be able to make it. And even if you had not made it, you would have a good excuse. But you defied everything and came. So we want to thank you very much. But however, as you have heard, and then the appreciation of the situation now, it will not be possible for us to send a delegation to your conference. So can you communicate this information and our best wishes to the Congress, that they should forgive me for this. This is the very first time ever since I became a General Secretary that I have neither gone to the event myself or nor sent a representation. So they must understand the difficult circumstances. So we thought that this information would be relayed. And indeed, listening to the various speeches at the Congress, the President himself acknowledged this heavy loss and so on. So it didn't take a rocket science, even if we had not sent any such information. It didn't take any rocket science to know why NDC will be absent at such a function, except anybody who wants to do maybe a mischief. But I concede that as a Vice President, there are so many things on top of his head.
Especially when it's an informal conversation.
Especially when it is an informal conversation. So I concede that he might have forgotten. But I cannot forgive him when it was actually being announced that NDC should come and deliver a solidarity message when he was present. Whatever forgetfulness he must have been suffering, it could have occurred to him that, well, the General Secretary himself spoke to me about this thing, so it is because of ABC that they are not here. That would have put paid to all this noise that's going around. And let me tell you, my brother, it benefits us more to attend such events than it does to the MPP itself. Because I go there and I say things that are not pleasant to them. I point out truths that are not pleasant to them. So I enjoy attending their functions. And if you doubt our what do you call it? Our disposition for comradeship among the political parties, look at our history. Anytime NDC wins elections, the MPP is absent at the declaration of results. It is only when MPP wins that you see an NDC people sitting to listen to the declaration. That should tell you something about the attitude of NDC.
So you're suggesting that when Professor Mills was being sworn in, the NPP did not
I said declaration of
okay,
I didn't talk about swearing.
Okay,
yes.
right.
They will not attend. In the case of the immediate part, the 2016 elections, I was there. You saw me. They declared results. I had the MPP people represented there, and we did. In fact, when people were calling for a boycott of the inauguration, again, I was there. You understand? And all NDC senior, MPP senior people will tell you that it is not even about party events, official party events, but even funerals, another social event. If no NDC person is there, you will see Asiedu Nketia there. Ask Nana Akufo-Addo himself. ask President Kufuor, ask Frema. They will tell you that I enjoy attending their functions. So they shouldn't make it look like they are now going to lecture me about the importance of inter-party relations.
Quickly before we move to others, if someone asks you that, you say you see the letter on Thursday.
Yeah.
Couldn't you have spent just 10 minutes to put down 2 paragraphs suggesting that the party is unable to attend because of ABCD and dispatched it to the party headquarters?
Mind you, we had all gone home to prepare for the following day's event. So when I received it with tags, with the party tags here, so even if you want to call somebody from Koforidua, you may be able to email the statement, but the person will have to come back to Accra to take the accreditation tag before he's allowed to even enter. So I tried calling my colleague on the other side there, John. I tried calling John. His phone was not going through. And they had already moved their secretariat to Koforidua. Now, unlike the situation which I had with Nano Hininto and Sir John, where we were a telephone call away from each other. In the case of John, it has been a little bit problematic. You call. There are times you are lucky it goes through. But he will never call you. But in the previous, so that is the thing. And then, when we were preparing for their Kumasi Congress, I kept pestering their lives. Call Sir John and find out. Kept pestering them. When is my accreditation coming? Whether you invite me or not, I will be there to come and tell you what you don't want to hear. So it was me who was rather pestering them for this. So I didn't care whether there was a formal letter for invitation and so on. I wanted this thing. And I was the first general secretary, substantive general secretary, who himself appeared at an MPP function personally, when they had never attended our function, internally. And to tell you what, they themselves will tell you, when I am present at MPP functions, I get more applause than NDC functions. So what will prevent me from attending these functions?
I see.
So I'm surprised, but I think that they were pleasantly surprised that I wasn't there because of the lot of things that are in the atmosphere. They thought that they will be receiving missiles from me.
I see.
With that huge world stage platform where everybody will be listening and their leadership are gathered there, I'm telling them to their face. So they were happy that I couldn't make it. But they want to divert the attention of Ghanaians from the issues that emerge at the Congress.
That's exactly where we're going.
And so that's why they are spending so much time talking about, since when did they enjoy my presence in their function?
Okay, now to the issues. But before that, would you lodge a formal protest?
To whom?
To the party?
No.
Okay. Now, let's end it there. Now to the issues. The party has elected executives for the next 4 years.
Yeah.
The conference itself.
Yeah.
What were the pickouts for you?
Well, as a matter of fact, I didn't get time to listen to all the statements myself. But I listened to the statement of the solidarity message from the member of the Conservative Party.
Right.
And I bowed down my head.
You're worried about it?
Because I thought that it was a befitting description about the conduct of MPP. I'm worried because they may extend it to cover the whole country as if we didn't know how to apply our resources. Because he did make that point very, very clear, that they were behaving as if they didn't know how to apply their resources. And it wasn't good. And this is somebody coming from a party in government in UK and from a country where we go begging that they should give us resources. If that person comes to tell, if somebody from there comes to tell us that we didn't know how to apply resources, it's something that the nation should be worried about.
So it's a general problem?
And then...
Is it a problem of the MPP or a general problem?
I think in this particular case, he was talking about MPP.
But is it a general
problem? I don't think it is a general problem. You see, when issues emerge and they are being discussed, the only escape route the favorite escape route for MPP is that, oh, he was talking about the whole Ghana. He was talking about this, he was talking. This is a member of the Conservative Party who will never attend an NDC event. And NDC will never invite him to our event. Because at the global level, we have the left and the right. MPP belongs to the rightist parties and we belong to the leftist parties. And in fact, in the leftist family, by the grace of God, I happen to be the vice president of the organization that all the leftist parties belong, that is Socialist International. And they have their own organization. So our organization, you have parties like the Labour, the French Socialist Party, the Danish Socialist Party, and all socialist and social democratic parties around the globe. And they also have their conservative parties, including the Republicans with Donald Trump and all their group. And we belong to the other side, Obama's group and all these other things. So we learn from each other. And we have the same principles that we pursue. Okay. So when we are attending, when they are holding, congresses and conferences, we invite each other. As I sit here, I've been invited to the Labour Party conference that is going to happen very soon. Okay. So if we have the capacity, we want to invite, we may also as well invite the French Socialist Party or the Labour Party and so on to attend. So in this case, it was so this was somebody, yes, MPP, referring to MPP, and not anybody else. Because we learn from each other, the best practices from each other. So when he comes here and he sees that we are demonstrating a worst practice, then he will be worried and he will talk about it. And that's why he spoke about it.
The buses saga.
Yeah.
Why is the NDC calling for a probe?
Thank you very much. It is not about NDC alone. This morning I heard the National House of Chiefs also calling for a probe. And other civil society organizations have started entering the fray. So I guess it is not a partisan issue. It is something that is a threat to our democracy, which we need to check. First of all, I don't know how much time we have, but
we don't have
nobody knows who actually is doing the procurement, whether it is Freddie Blay as a person or MPP as an organization, because they keep changing the goalposts. Initially, Freddie Blay announced he will provide buses if they voted for him and so on and so forth. And then he came on the attack. Then 3 days later, the response came that it wasn't Freddie Blay as a person, it was MPP as an organization. Then that one too became subject to attack from the other contestants within MPP that, well, if this is a party project and we are all party members, how come you alone are taking credit and calling for voters to vote for you because of the provision of buses? Then the narrative changes again to something else, to guarantees and all type of things. So the whole thing is shrouded in some secrecy. And the nation should be worried. More so when you have Freddie Blay heading one of the most sensitive organizations in this country as far as our economy is concerned, and that is the GNPC.
It's only a board check. It doesn't take charge of day-to-day running.
Which controls our resources. Okay? So it must be a cause of worry. So it must be investigated. If for nothing at all, because of that position he holds, and suddenly the type of wealth he's seen to be flaunting, in any civilized democracy, they will not need any prompting from a minority party. The institutions of good governance will descend on him to try to find out. Because by self-confession, said he paid $3 million down payment. Okay? Where from that $3 million and so on, we should know. Yes. So that $3 million, when you convert it, it's getting to about 15 million Ghana cedis.
Let me ask you.
As down payment. Then, apart from that, the fact that these buses are going to be run by a state organization on behalf of the party, that is the State Transport Company, which is in that business already. So you have a state organization in the business of transportation competing with other private organizations. And now you are going to bring a party fleet of buses and put them under that state organization so that they are
running it.
They are running it.
What is the party?
As a competitor.
The party bringing the...
Yes, as a competitor.
If it were individuals, that would have been fine.
If that is a policy issue, they would have brought it, but even that one will be subject to scrutiny by Ghanaians to see whether it is proper. But in this particular case, the party appointed the managing director and is being paid by the taxpayer and is running a state transport company that is competing with other private companies. Then you will come and put the buses of a political party to which the managing director belongs. So in the first place, the managing director is representing Ghanaians and he's signing this agreement on behalf of Ghanaians with his own party.
I see.
There are issues, very major issues around it.
You raised Togbe Afede, okay?
Yeah.
And so if you listen to it, he said that there was a party that built a $20 million edifice as a headquarters. We didn't see anything. We allowed you to go now. Somebody has bought buses. We should take a look at it. So you think that the NDC's edifice was investigated? And so this one should be investigated?
Why didn't anybody call for investigation? Because in the first place, there was this was a project that we're putting up gradually. And at every Congress, as a chief executive of the party, I report the progress to Congress, openly to everybody. Now, after Congress, if media houses are interested in finding out the details about costing, location, whatever, you wouldn't approach me.
So no one called for it?
Nobody even approached me for anything.
Did you spend 20 million?
All that listen, I'm just explaining
because we
that.
don't have a lot of time.
Yes. So all that I saw was that this Freddie Blaze newspaper, this same Freddie Blaze, his newspaper, then splashed on the front page pictures with a cost of $20 million. Wherever he got that cost from, nobody knew.
So he didn't spend $20 million?
Not at all. And if they had proper engineers in their party, they should know that that edifice there doesn't cost anything like that.
How much did
But
you
they
spend?
put this thing in the minds of people and kept repeating it, like the Russians and the Soviet people have said that lies repeated several times assumes the semblance of truth, and that is what Togbe Afede was referring to.
How much
So I was told, I was called subsequently to talk about the costing, and I said that look, if you encourage this type of journalism, from here we will get to a point where you will be walking on the street, somebody will say you are wearing a brown pant, and then when you say it's not true, they say then undress and let us see your pant. So that is not the way to go, and because of that, I am not going to tell any pressman how much it costs. There are state institutions in this country which have the responsibility of investigating. We have electoral commission where we file our final accounts and so on. So if anybody is interested in anything, they can approach any of these things. We will be open for investigation.
Okay,
nobody went there, and they keep on keeping this thing. Now you are doing something, we are referring to it. When you have all this opportunity, more than 4 years to look into it, and now you are saying that because you said 20 million, I say it's not true, and because of that, I'm not going. So it means that you can do everything, and I cannot comment on it. Our things are there. And in fact, my call is for state institutions to do the investigation.
Okay.
I'm not calling Freddie Blade to come and sit here and probably to talk about, to give me information. Because when he does so, I won't believe him. So who says that whatever I say here will be believed by them too? And that is why there are state institutions that have the responsibility.
How did you fund the headquarters?
I'm saying that go and refer to the state institutions. They will find out the source of our funding.
They have all the information.
No, I'm saying that the investigation I am calling for, okay, I'm saying that if anybody, I'm calling for investigation into this acquisition of buses and into the construction of the MPP headquarters too, okay? Because we are talking about our headquarters, 6 months, it took us close to 6 years or so to build our office. 6 months into office, they cut a short for the beginning of the construction of their office, and they are claiming that it will be bigger and more modern than even the NDC headquarters. The short was cut by the First Lady. The construction is ongoing. So if they claim by their own, if you tell a lie, it comes back to haunt you. If they claim that our office is 20 million, then what they are claiming will be bigger than ours.
Okay, so we should find theirs first.
No, I'm not saying we should find them. I'm saying that whoever is interested in pursuing whatever they think about us, they should call for, they should approach the state institute, the same state institutions to do those things. I'm not worried about it. But I'm calling for this probe. If anybody is interested, we are not blocking anybody from calling for any other probe for questions they don't understand. And there are issues about the capacity of the Universal Merchant Bank to grant a single loan to a ruling party to the tune of close to 60 million Ghana cedis, and so on. They are all worrisome development. When the same local banks are complaining that they don't have capacity to even meet their minimum capital. If you are in a position to grant this amount of loan to one customer,
but
and then you are complaining about it.
General,
and
banks have expertise and the professional knowledge to do these things. Certainly, that would have been done after thorough, prudent due diligence is being made.
I'm not saying that. Don't let us draw conclusion that some banks can do it, so therefore this bank has done it.
Right.
So we are worried about this. Let us proceed and investigate it. We are also aware of the history of this particular bank, even though some shares might have changed hands as we speak. The history of Merchant Bank with Ghanaian politics is not a pleasant one. And it has never been a pleasant one.
So your call is for a probe?
Yes. And then Kwasi Nyantakyi in that tape also referred to a local financial institution through which he will be doing the money laundering. He will be laundering the $11 million to Ghana. And he said it so, what do you call it? So easily that, oh, this is not a problem. We have a local financial institution through which we can do these transfers. He's claiming that he has a local financial institution that will be engaged in money laundering. I'm sure the financial intelligence unit should have gone in to look at these things at this stage. So there are a lot of things wrong. You know, it is this bank that MPP alleged that it was Ibrahim Mahama who had bought it. So are we saying that it's Ibrahim Mahama's bank that is giving the loan to MPP now? There are issues we should look at. Are we saying that MPP came together and said that President Mahama should be impeached because his brother has taken a loan from Merchant Bank? Now, just a brother relationship and a loan which was taken at the time he wasn't a president. So now you are talking about a whole MPP party, including the president, including everybody. They have gone for a loan which is even bigger than what Ibrahim Mahama has taken. What do we do?
You are not impugning any wrongdoing. You're only asking for a probe.
For a probe, that's what I'm
grateful. The Electoral Commission
because there is a potential for wrongdoing. And that is the reason why there is investigation. If I knew the facts, they wouldn't call for the probe. There wouldn't be the need for investigation. That's why I'm saying that these issues must be investigated. The relationship of that bank with government, how much government monies are being saved there, and for which reason it could trigger, it will convince them to do some quid pro quo arrangement to give fund this type of facility to MPP and so on. These are all issues that need to be investigated.
Let's move to the Electoral Commission now.
Yeah.
So, where is the NDC now as far as the EC is concerned?
We are saying that everything that this president has done at the Electoral Commission is wrong. Everything. Completely wrong. And we are worried not because we think that some new electoral commissioners, when they come on board, will rig election for MPP or anything. In fact, if you win your elections, you win. You see? But we are worried that, in fact, when President Obama came here, he said that what Africa needs is not strong men. What Africa needs is strong institutions. And so, if we had nurtured a commission up to this stage, when it has become a showpiece for Africa, and in fact, our commissioners are sent on secondment and whatever to assist other developing, the election management authorities of other developing countries all over the world. We should ourselves be interested in protecting that institution. Okay, not that one alone, but other institutions of good governance. The government has entered the central bank, which is supposed to be independent, and has tamed the bank now, put it under their control. They are doing so with all other governance institutions. They have entered the police service, the CID, put it under their control. They have done this, they have done this. If we are not careful, by the time these 4 years ends, you have one strong macho president, but without state institutions of good governance. And so that is why we should be worried. I participated in writing the constitution of this republic. And one of the major issues that confronted us at that time was that how do we get, if we are going to build a democracy, how do we get an independent electoral management body? Because our history wasn't pleasant at all. We were using sole commissioners who had never been able to take a decision that did not go in favor of the government and announced it. There are occasions where one commissioner will organize elections, and when it is clear that the sitting government has lost, then the government will move tanks to chase him out, appoint another commissioner for him to come and declare results of an election he didn't held or he knew nothing about. So how do we protect an election administration body?
And that was the Electoral Commission.
And that was why we moved from a sole commissioner to a commission. And then we have developed this thing up to this stage, and we appear to be making progress. The protections that we put into the Constitution, there are constitutional guarantees to safeguard the independence of the commissioners. And their core mandate is to organize elections and have the courage to declare results, even if the ruling party loses. They have so far discharged this mandate well. According to the testimony of President Akufo-Addo himself, the day he was making his first speech, he commended highly this Ghana Electoral Commission for being able to organize these elections and putting in there. Now, there are supplementary mandates that have to do with the running of offices, procurements, and other things there. So they cannot be the basis of removing a commissioner. Otherwise, there will be no commission.
General, if procurement breaches cannot be the basis for removing a commissioner, then we might as well throw away those laws.
No, you won't throw away those laws. There are procurement laws. And when those procurement laws are implemented within the organization, they don't lead to the removal of the leadership of the organization. There are ways of going about it. In fact, if those issues that I have heard about, okay,
awarding of contract and
of contracts, the report didn't mention anywhere that anybody has engaged in corruption. Nowhere did the report indicate that they have any of them had engaged in corruption. The only issue that got close to their core mandate was the issue about transfer of votes, because it is that one that can compromise the results.
That's an illegality.
Yes.
Right.
That is something that can compromise the results of an election. And that one had nothing to do with the chairperson of the Electoral Commission. It had to do with Amadou Sule, for instance. That is the only thing that got close to their core mandate. Apart from that, issues about chairperson of Electoral Commission awarding a contract for legal services without putting it on paper, then it leads to removal of this. Let me tell you what.
Quickly.
When I was in Parliament, we undertook a survey. We actually went countrywide to do hearings about allegations of corruption within the judicial service. We produced a report with the conclusion, a parliamentary committee on judiciary produced a report that the judiciary was indeed, there was indeed rampant corruption in the judiciary. It didn't lead to the removal of the then Chief Justice. You understand? Because the administrative things that happened under him, the administrative which could be cured. And so we indicated it to the Chief Justice, and he came and declared that he will work on those ones. So if, what do you call it, National Procurement Authority had come to look at these issues and they see these infractions, they can call them, issue a management paper, and they'll look at those ones and correct them. That should not lead to the removal of commissioners. Otherwise, look, when MPs are going to Parliament, they say that they cannot be arrested on the way and so on. If you are discussing something about the police service and the MTTU and the corruption in MTTU on the floor of Parliament, and an MP makes a statement there, and he's on his way to Parliament the next day, he can be arrested for wrong driving or jumping a traffic light, if that one leads to the removal of that MP. So who can then go and discuss these issues? That's why those protections are there.
Sorry, I have to wrap up.
The presidency, there are reports to the, what do you call it, the Public Accounts Committee about certain breaches of procurement and other things at the presidency. It doesn't lead to the removal of the president. The immediate past Chief Justice, there were issues about her purchasing government land. It didn't lead to the removal of the Chief Justice. He was advised to return the land, and she complied. She remained the same. So if you hang the removal of otherwise constitutionally protected persons on things like procurement and other things, then you can't protect anybody. It doesn't
come under Article 146.
No.
Misstated misbehavior.
No, my understanding of that, misstated misbehavior would be about botched elections and mishandling of elections and so on. So if a referee judges a game and declares somebody a winner, then you come out and say that the whistle he used was procured wrongly. So that referee has not done his work well, so let's remove him. Is that what we want to have in this?
I have to wrap up this conversation. General, I'm so grateful for your time with us this morning. General Mosquito, the General Secretary of the NDC, talking to me there. Thanks so much for joining us. Thank you. And of course, we're grateful for you staying out there to be part of the show. Sorry, we've taken some 10 minutes of your time. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 6. My name is Bright Nanam. I was here with Dr. Nana Majman. Have a good morning once again and be productive.